Now it's live. Okay, here we go. So, welcome everyone, and welcome to this webinar on strengthening agricultural value chains for farmers in Africa. This webinar is brought to you by Yamert, which is an agritech company, which um, wants to empower smallholder farmers in Africa by providing holistic solutions, such as microinsurance, and also recently, um, Yamert has implemented a carbon credit program to benefit those who are practicing with sustainable for employing sustainable practices. And also, we promote financial literacy and market linkages in order to make these farmers able to trade their products and make their crops and everything more profitable. We are joined today by a great group of leaders in the agro industry space. So let me introduce you to them. These are Joshua Giamfi, who is the co-founder of Consortium Farmers Trade Africa. He is a dynamic leader in agricultural trade, dedicated to empowering smallholder farmers by improving market access, establishing fair pricing mechanisms, and driving digital innovation in agribusiness. His work is pivotal in bridging the gap between farmers and profitable markets while building sustainable food systems across the continent. We also have here on the call Joycelyn Oteng Asamoah, who is a technical advisor for sustainable employment through agribusiness at GIZ Ghana, or the German Corporation for International Cooperation. Joycelyn has been instrumental in driving the market oriented agriculture program in Northwest Ghana, which is an initiative commissioned by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development and is co founded by the European Union. Her work is transforming agribusiness and creating sustainable employment opportunities for farmers across the region. Well, thank you so much to you, to the speakers. We're delighted to have your participation here. So first, I'll start with Joshua. And in a minute or two, how can we support smallholder cooperatives or agribusinesses to evolve into small and growing businesses in Africa?
Thank you for having me, Alice. And I think this is a very interesting question. And Africa, we see agriculture as a subsistence for subsistence. We don't see it as a thriving business. So you can see that a lot of youth are even shying away from venturing into agriculture. They don't see it as a viable career path. So for us to make agriculture like a thriving business or an enterprise for most farmers, we have to ensure that it's lucrative and also technology wise is more scalable. And that is where we can attract a lot of young people into the sector and also see that Africa can harness its potential in agriculture. Because if you look at the stats, Africa has over 60% of the world unused arable land. But ironically, we are still the most food insecure region globally, which is not really the case. And I think this paradox has to be faced. And by turning agriculture or smallholder farmers into entrepreneurs or maybe agriculture into viable venture, I believe that we can solve this problem and all that stuff. Thank you.
Well, I have a follow-up question. So you mentioned scaling smallholder businesses, but how do we overcome the common challenges of access to finance and the market linkages in this process?
So access to finance is one of the major challenges that small farmers are facing, but I don't think that is the cardinal one or the main one. I think the main one is access to profitable markets or fair pricing. So the problem is in two phase, or in this scenario, we have farmers who are always producing, generating data every day, selling from production to marketing and stuff. They are generating data, but that data is not there. Nobody's recording it. So it excludes them from the mainstream finance where they can get access from financial institutions or maybe very good credit and stuff. So we believe that integrating technology by where farmers input or whatever they are producing and marketing and stuff will be recorded can help to uh, help financial institutions to create alternative credit score or any form of means to assess their credit worthiness to give them access. But the other one that people overlook into is about the fair pricing or the market linkages. If farmers are not getting fair pricing for their produce, obviously they are not going to break even. And I have seen cases where a lot of farmers are abandoning their farm, fleeing their villages, all because they went for microfinance loans, which are very expensive compared to commercial loans. And these farmers, after harvesting their produce, can't even make up the money to pay back the loans. And all they have to do is to abandon the farm and start running and all that stuff. So I believe giving them access to fair pricing of markets, which will guarantee fair pricing and stuff, will also help boost, the financial inclusivity, as well as having accurate data on farmers, which can help to assess them using alternative credit score or any other means to rate their credit worthiness and also integrate them into the mainstream financial system.
Thank you so much for this insightful answer. I wanted to ask you, how has CFT Africa, so if I can abbreviate it like that, how has
Yeah,
CFT? Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, great.
Yes,
How
Africa.
great. So, how has CFT used technology to streamline farming activities and improve this market access for farmers? Could you share any success stories that you may think of?
Yeah, so the problems that I mentioned earlier are the things that we are also tackling head on. And what we are doing currently, we have a platform that we use to collect data on farmers, and the data starts from their biodata, their farm size, their location. We use satellite images to map the boundaries of the site to confirm the location and everything. And what we do is, after they harvest, we also get updates on their produce, whatever they are harvesting. So we get real life data on that, and with that we can easily source from them to our buyers or clients. And one of the challenge again within the smallholder farming system or the dynamics in Africa is these farmers are just producing on maximum 2 to 3 acres of land per farmer and stuff. So their yield is not that enough for bulk buyers like the manufacturers or the companies that want to buy FMGs and stuff are not being able to source directly from the farmers. So obviously what they do is to rely on intermediaries. What we are doing with our technology, taking data of these farmers, we can easily identify where they are, put them in a consortium based on whatever they are producing, and with some basic analytics, we can tell the quantity that we can get from this group of farmers or the farmers that we have on our platform, and easily connect them to direct source where they can market their produce directly. When we talk about success stories, we group our clientele into two. We have those who are into commercial produce like soya beans, maize, and chena, peanut, and stuff. And we have those who are growing those who also buy staple crops. So if you look at the farming or the smallholder farming in Ghana, to be precise, we have those within the northern hemisphere, the northern part of Ghana. They are producing some crops which are highly exported. They can easily export those crops, and they also have commercial value for the industries and stuff. So they don't have a lot of challenges. Prices are sometimes stable. There's some kind of fairness or that kind of within there. But when you go to the southern part where they are producing a lot of staple crops like plantain, cassava, yam, and stuff, they are rather at the mercy of these middlemen who buy from the farmers and rather sell it at the marketplaces and all that. So this has also disadvantaged a lot of farmers where they don't have access to the main market because it's very, very controversial. If I try to explain you type the middlemen within. We have local middlemen, those in the market, and a whole lot of things. And these people are also causing a lot of inflationary prices when it comes to that spectrum of the stable costs and stuff. So we were able to connect some farmers to food vendors within the communities in the capitals like in Accra. We were able to connect some farmers to food vendors who buy directly from these farmers. We also have some snacks or SMEs who are into production of local snacks like plantain chips and few other stuff. So we're able to connect these farmers directly to them, and we saw a lot of improvement. Like most of the farmers were getting about 30, minimum of 30%, increase in revenue than before. And also we saw the margin of for our vendors also increasing. Yeah, they got a good margin because there are a lot of intermediaries from farm to market and a whole lot of things. Something that we are trying to also bridge and make sure that food can move from the farmer to the consumer and ensure the farmer get fair pricing for their produce, while consumers also get affordable price and also value for their money.
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much for this answer. It was very comprehensive, and it really gives us the context to understand how this is increasingly very challenging for farmers. Um, now I want to move to Joyceling, and I wanted to ask her a similar question. If you could share a case where farmer-led or agribusiness-driven value chain models have successfully improved profitability but also sustainability.
Yeah, thank you, Alexandra, for the question. Yes, um, with GIZ Agribase, please can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, okay. So with GIZ Agribase, there are some models that we have adopted that is doing well for farmers and processors. I'll talk about the contract farming where we link farmers to markets. So they have certain firms that would need raw materials. So they come into agreement with the farmers, and then they produce for the firms, the processing firms. So even after even before the farmer start production, the farmer is ensured of ready markets for its produce. So this helps the farmer to get ready markets for its produce. They agree on the pricing, and they agree on the quality what they should produce. They agree on pricing, and whatever the buyer needs, they agree. They sign a contract. The acre the acre they should produce and all that, they sign the contract. So even after the farmer start producing, the farmer already knows that he or she has market for each product or produce. So there is no disadvantage of they trying to find markets for their produce. Yes. And also with access to finance being a challenge to most of these small medium enterprises, we have a model that is we are running and is quite beneficial for these SMEs, and they have adopted it. It's called the VSLA model, where we encourage the processes, more like the SMEs, the small medium enterprises, into similar sector. Let's say the poultry industry or maize farmers. They come together, and then what they do is that they save, they contribute money, they pay social fund, they pay shares. So if a farmer wants money for to expand his or her business, he can just go to the group and then borrow the money with a certain interest on it, and then use to expand the business. If the farmer wants to acquire inputs, they can go through the the group the VSLA group that they have set up to borrow money from this with some interest to be able to buy inputs for the farm. So this helps them. It's very difficult to get loans at the banks these days without the right collateral due to the risky nature of business, due to risky nature of farming. So with this model that has been set up, access to finance in a way has been addressed in a way for these farmers and these SMEs who would want capital to expand their business. Financing itself serves as a fuel for without the right financing, they will not be able to expand and buy all the necessary things that they will need to farm or to process or to aggregate. So these VSLA models, village savings and loans models, or ESLG, the ESLG is for entrepreneurs savings and loans models are helping these farmers, these SMEs, in order to get access to finance for their their work. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Joycelyn. I see that our last speaker has joined us, Uji Asemota. Thank you so much for joining. I'll just introduce you very briefly. Um, so Uji Asemota is CEO of Supplies NG and Executive Director of African Youth in Agribusiness, and Supplies NG is at the forefront of revolutionizing the agricultural supply chain. As an industrial raw materials and agri-products sourcing, processing, supplies, and exports company, Supplies NG also ensures that smallholder farmers have access to the quality inputs they need for success. Coupled with his role empowering Africa's youth in agribusiness, Uji's leadership is driving sustainable change across rural communities. Thank you so much, Uji. And we were talking about, well, agricultural value chains, as the title of the webinar is. Um, but maybe since you joined, and now I have you on the spot, could
Thank
could
you.
you could you share a case study from your work with Supplies NG or with African youth in agribusiness that demonstrates a successful farmer-led, driven value chain model?
All right, thank you so much, Alexandra. I'm so sorry for joining a bit late. I think I had the wrong time logged on. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you, Joyce and Joshua. Yeah, I am excited to be here, and it's a bit quite satisfying to know that a whole lot is now happening in the agri space, and we're trying to share ideas on how to better the value chain. I will start. I will move back a bit to talk about how I even found myself in this space and why I'm in this space and why I'm trying to do something in this space. We all would agree, even as we walk through the different aspects of the value chain, we would have realized that one of the stuff that has been the militating effect against even thriving in this sector has been the mindset about agriculture. Let's even start from there. So that was one of the stuff that led me into creating something around trying to bring youth into the agribusiness value chain, trying to attract as much younger persons into agriculture. The fund now, right? Agriculture is seen as two things. One, it needs to survive, right? And most of the persons that went into agriculture in the early days are those that just wanted something to eat or something to survive on. And secondly, agriculture was also seen as a transition form. Some of those persons that have not gotten something tangible that they feel that is tangible, they just hinge on agriculture because maybe because we have the land in Africa where you just throw seed in a place, it will grow, right? So most of them did not think through the fact that this is actually a business, just like a doctor would take his work of being a doctor seriously. Agriculture or agribusiness is supposed to be a very serious business, right? So most of these persons came into agriculture with those subsistence mindset. So it became a bit quite difficult to try to commercialize a whole lot of what they were doing, especially the rural farmers, right? For example, There was a time I just needed 2 trucks of hibiscus flower from Chad, for example. It took me going to over 31 villages, right? 31 villages and trying to pull these products together. And you agree with me that that was a whole sandwich of problem in itself. The standard of the products I get from one village is different from the standard I get from another village. Trying to introduce, as little as trying to educate these people that I want to buy by weight, because I will sell to the final to the companies I'm supplying to in weight. Most of these persons don't understand what it means to even sell in kgs or tons, as the case may be, right? So it takes you as the person coming to buy from them to try to educate them. And another thing, because these people are subsistent farmers, they think about their what they want to eat and the money they can get from it without thinking of this as a business. They don't trust you to even agree to your innovation. So that in itself stifles a whole lot of ideas you would have brought on. I remember it took me close to like 2 months to teach one village that I need to buy I need to scale your bag to tell you the value of what this is, because the international market, this is the amount it is. So it took a whole while, and after 1 year of working with them, the second year was a little bit more busy. It gives a ray of hope that if we bring these innovations and some of this stuff to some of these rural people, it might take a little bit of time. They are smart, right? So from the second year, they will pick up from it and stuff like that. So with the story I was saying, it took a whole bit of trying to bring these products together from 31 villages, now standardizing it, now have to clean it. Well, even some of them, I saw that they were sand and every of those stuff. And in the international market, that will not be accepted. So going through this process was a bit strenuous. And at the end, we achieved it. But this would have been a little bit more, it would have been a little bit better if from the day one of where I was trying to, these people were even trying to plant, I followed through with them, right? So those are some of the stuff we now imbibed after like a year of working with them, that before they are planting, we teach them the variety. As small as the variety of what they are planting, we teach them what variety they need to plant that we will easily buy from them. Because the white hibiscus flower I was using as an example, there are about three different varieties that when it gets dry, the colors and every of those stuff, how they harvest, where they need to sun, how they need to sun dry it that it will not gather impurities, how they need to bag it that it will not be broken, so that at the end we are picking it and stuff like that. So we had to follow them from their planting to the end. I think that was one of the stuff that we now imbibed in the subsequent products like the soya bean and ginger that we now that we source through these times that I'm talking about. So basically, following the value, I usually tell the young persons that I worked with at the African Youth and Agri Business Organization that for agriculture to be sustainable, for it to do well in Africa, we need to follow the value chain from the beginning to the end, right? And at those points of following the value chain from beginning to the end, no one farmer, for example, can do everything from the beginning of the value chain to the end. So how do we collaborate? Now, what I do, I no longer, you agree with me that following those example I gave to you for the white hibiscus flower, that was strenuous, right? It took a whole lot of energy, a whole lot of resources, even wasted resources, and at the end of it, I don't want to even talk about the profitability of those whole process, right? So it took a whole lot of those things. So why don't we have a situation where we have a kind of like a team or a company, an entire company, like now I talked about the fact that I no longer shy away from collaborating with smaller companies along the value chain to achieve my purpose. What if we have a company that is working on with the farmers, and that is where they cover. There is a company that is working with processing, maybe an aggregated kind of like processing of those things, and that at the end of the day, all I need this product at this stage, I go to that company and I pick it up. Then in terms of transportation, there is a company that is working on transportation and every of those stuff. I know that when I need to think about transporting, I need to I just go to these people. Maybe in subsequent, I was also we were talking about the risk that is also involved. I will talk about how I lost so much just because the transportation system that was in place was same thing with what transport goods for some of those traders that trade on plastic, and I had to also use it, and I lost a whole lot. So if we have some of those fragmented players along the value chain that will now at the end work as a cohesive kind of entity, I think it will be a bit easier for us to be able to maximize profits across board. Yeah. So thank you. I think I'll just stop there.
No, that's yes. Thank you so much, Uji. And actually, you kind of dived into one of the questions that I
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
ask you. So yes,
I'm so sorry about that.
no, no, that's great. We can elaborate with the other two speakers about this the role of collaboration between these different stakeholders as small companies, but also governments, agribusinesses, and yeah, maybe also I wanted to mention the role that the youth, especially in Africa, as we know that Africa has the a really big young population, right?
Yeah.
So how can we? I mean, this are maybe I'm putting two questions here, but just help me out when I finish.
Yeah.
So how can we also empower young people to get into this sector? And because I think it was Joshua, I think you have made agricultural central to tackling youth unemployment, right? So through agriculture is one great way to get them more involved. But yeah, maybe we can start with you, Joshua, and just to elaborate a little bit more on this. And Joycelyn, after Joshua, we can hear your comments on this whole collaboration between different stakeholders to maximize value, the results of value chains. Okay.
All right, thank you, Alexandra. I mean, your scenario, your story you were sharing was so impactful. Actually, we've seen that challenge across, smallholder farmers in West, of course, Sub-Saharan Africa, and that is the case. Things are not standardized, and that makes it very difficult for bulk buyers like yourself to buy directly from these farmers. And that is why we still have intermediaries, a lot of intermediaries, not just one, because we can't get rid of all intermediaries. But we have a lot of intermediaries who are also exploiting the farmers because of these, bottleneck we are seeing and all the stuff. So one thing that we are doing at CFT Africa is a solution to whatever recommendation that you made or you raise up here. We have a platform that is collecting data on all the farmers that we are able to reach. And it's not just that the farmers are just for us to buy directly from them and you know resist other players from buying from the farmers. Nope, we have the data of the farmers and we ensure the quality check. And one of the challenge I have seen with a lot of startups like agri-tech startups is their technology are still not benefiting the rural farmers. And the reason is over 90% of these farmers are illiterate and they can't access these kind of sophisticated technology one way or the other, even if it's just basic ones, they still struggle to. So we have also created a shared economy-based system where a lot of young people within the community who are quite technological savvy or maybe their know-how about technology can onboard these farmers on our platform and update their inventory whenever they are ready. And we can directly source for them at ease without any stress. So what we do is we reach out to their communities, have some outreaches, explain to them our model. And data is also one of the challenges that we are seeing here because with your case, if you have the data of the number of farmers you can reach in one community, I think it will be easy for you to source it without the stress and all that stuff. So we are focusing on data and real-time data and updates in terms of whatever they've harvested and also making sure that they are meeting quality standard because the youth or the volunteers, their commission is tied after the sales is made. So if they help make a sale, help a farmer make a sale, then they get commission on that. So indirect way, they have to ensure the quality is done, and they are being trained. We also train them with our quality checks and standards, and we also have another model where we get companies to get in touch with these farmers through our platform. So what they do is they can pay us to get these farmers for them, and also with the youth that we've onboarded on the platform, manage everything to their specification, to their quality standard. And whenever the farmer harvests their produce, the company will be the off takers. We have a way of integrating this. Also, when it comes to the logistics side, we've had collaboration with some of the cargo or transport owners, especially in Ghana. What we've seen for the logistics side, you see they move a lot of products like cement, iron sheet, those heavy duty cargoes to the rural communities for distribution and stuff. But when they are returning, they return empty. So we also leverage on these cargo, drivers and stuff, and then the truck drivers, and make sure we can get easy transportation in very affordable way. So I believe the only way that can bridge or that can solve some of the fragmented issue, the problem we are seeing, is technology and data, and we can do away with that. So I believe in synergy. I believe in working collaboration and all that stuff. And two, the youth do not see agriculture as a viable career choice or opportunity for them, which our brother explained quite well, because it has been like for subsistence. You only go into it for subsistence, or when there's no hope for you and you think you just want to use it to, survive and then look for better opportunity and all that stuff. And I don't entirely blame them, because already the current farmers or those who are already there are not making any, are not doing well. So if farmers have been there, you've seen your parents who have been farmers for over 20 years, 30 years of their lives, and yet can provide for basic things for you, and you had it hard time at school and stuff, you will never look back. And I am a testimony to that. My parents were farmers. I grew up in a farming community, and I vowed to be an accountant. And actually, I'm an accountant, to be honest. And but I realized that these need to be faced. And once these are faced, we can streamline the smallholder farming system. We can streamline it, and I believe technology is the way out. So a lot of these solutions, CFT Africa is tackling them, and I believe, brother, if you will get in touch, we can think more through and see how we can collaborate on this front as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joshua. Joycelyn, I want to give the floor to you. I don't know if you have your insights that maybe added more to what Joshua commented.
Yes, so thank you, Alexandra. So, talking about collaboration is very critical in ensuring a resilient value chain. The value chain is more like it's made up of different actors, services, and without collaboration, the value chain will not be effective. Alongside along the value chain, we have input suppliers, we have producers, we have marketers, we have processors, and a lot. And we also have the supporting services like ICT, like extension services, finance, and there are also stakeholders that are part of this value chain in order to make it work. So we cannot work alone. We need collaboration from different actors of the value chain. We need collaboration from the government. We need collaboration from the private sector, public sector, in order to make the value chain resilient and successful. So, and when we are able to collaborate as actors alongside the value chain, it enhances productivity and innovation. We know about the public-private partnership where they are into development, and then they are able to introduce climate resilient crops and improve seas, and also also comes to precision agriculture, where these private partnership brings, and then we are able to benefit from this. You know, in academia, they are also they contribute they research into things that we might not know, the research into tools, the research into technology that might enhance or improve efficient value chain. Governments also mostly provide infrastructure in order to strengthen the value chain, storage facilities, routes, and all that. So without collaboration, the government might not even know which storage type of storage he or the government should provide, or the government might not be aware of which tools or which storage roads that they even have to prioritize in order to be able to transport raw materials or harvested produce from the farm to the consumer. So collaboration is key in order to promote efficient and resilient agricultural value chains. And also talking about the youth, in Africa, we have a lot of our population being the youth, and you realize that the youth are not so much interested in farming because more likely they see it as farming doesn't pay. Even when we were in school, you realize that a lot of people want to be doctors, want to be lawyers, want to be bankers. Why? Because agriculture is not attractive enough. And what we know, we perceive agriculture to be is using traditional tools, cutlasses and hoes to farm, and it's tedious. It doesn't pay. So the youth have this mindset. So in order to help the youth or to change this mindset, then we have to make sure agriculture and agribusiness is appealing to to the youth. And how can we make that? How can we do that? It is through creating awareness and capacity building. Some of us that has been in agriculture and have been able to know the benefit that we are getting from agriculture should stand out, and then be able to come out and and mentor these young ones as to the need to go into agriculture and agribusiness. You get it? Yes. And secondly, agriculture should be appealing to them. Nowadays, mechanization, we use equipment, drones to do spraying and all that. If we don't incorporate technology and digitalization into agriculture, it will be very difficult for the youth to venture into agriculture. Yes. So yeah, that is from my side. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. This was super insightful. I
Yeah,
guess the three of you have agreed that data, technology, and collaboration are
yeah,
essential, right?
sure. Yeah,
Yes. So now, when it comes, I mean, both of you, well, no, yes, the three of you talked about the youth, but what about women? So what do you think about supporting women in agriculture, in agriculture, and in particularly in the value chains? Joycing, I think, well, you're an advocate for girls in STEM, so maybe you could tell us a bit, what do you think about this, or if you have any initiatives that you think of. Yeah.
sure. Thank you. When we talk about women, normally when we are talking about value chain, we normally leave the women out and we focus more on the men. But in order to promote inclusive participation in the value chain, then that means we have to consider the women. We have to wear a gender lens when mapping the value chain, in the sense that we have to be able to know where the women are concentrated and where they are not in terms of mapping. Women face a lot of challenge. That's a lot of challenge, mostly more like land rights, land ownership and land rights. You realize that most of these land ownership are owned by the men, not the women. And they also face a challenge of decision making. In a traditional setting, women don't say much. They are not allowed, more likely allowed to make decision in terms of in the home. The men are dominant. The men are the people that makes decision in the home. And women are also challenged with access to finance. So these are some of the challenges that women face. Yes, and in order to overcome these challenges, I think we have to promote or prioritize the women-led agribusinesses, institutions or firms. And then we will also have to maybe bring out, the government would have to come out with policies and regulations that kind of favor women who would want to go into agribusiness and agriculture. Yes. And also, I think we just have to also come out with products that is specifically tailored for women, especially with the access to finance. I was talking to a friend in Ethiopia, and then he was telling me that in Ethiopia, in the banks, the government has made it such a way that they have some specific financial product that is only for women. So if you are a woman and into agriculture, agribusiness, and you want money to expand or to buy input, you just go to the bank and you access that type of financial product, and that is for you. So we have to focus on the women and what we can do to help the women, um, alongside all the actors in the value chain. There are women that are producers, there are women that are input suppliers, there are women that are processors, there are women that are marketers or distributors. So what are we doing to promote these women that find themselves alongside the agricultural value chain? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Joycelyn. And I wanted to follow up actually on the role of policymakers. So I'll go now to Uji. And I mean, we can follow up on the gender aspect of it, but you can also go broader if you wish. So, what role should policymakers play in enhancing this efficiency and sustainability of agricultural value chains?
Thank you so much, Alexandra. To a very large extent, I agree totally with Joyce, but I'll bring in some perspective at the end of my stuff. So let me talk about the policy. When it comes to agriculture, one of the stuff that we do at the African Youth and Agribusiness Organization is we try to, I'll use the word in quotes now, go into boardrooms and lobby, because you cannot do much impact in the space without the right policies to be able to support this. Let me take just one product in Nigeria, for example, shea butter. We have one of the best, right, shea nuts and shea butter in shea nuts, especially, and as well as shea butter in Africa. I think I would say in my own categorization after Ghana, right? The reason Ghana has been able to do so well in the shea butter space is because there is a national policy around shea butter, right? For example, now you know the standard, the Ghana government has been able to come about a particular standard. This is you talk when you talk about standard most of the time, the standard we talk about in code, it is always hinged on the mutually agreed national policy around that product. So if I am taking Ghana product, for example, taking shea butter from Ghana, for example, and I'm taking shea butter from Chad to the international market and say I want to sell, the international buyers are going to first of all go back and try to take the policies, the country policies around this product and look at it. So by the time they look at that of Ghana, they will see something, but if they look at that of Chad, they will not see anything. So automatically it is assumed that Ghana, for example, I'm using these two countries, for example, has more quality shea butter than Chad, all just because of irresponsible policies around that stuff that was put in place by Ghana and was not put in place by Chad. So when it comes to the place of policy, it is very, very important. That's why we also need to now start canvassing for the kind of individuals that head our agri sectors. We have had cases where in countries, the individuals that makes policy about agriculture don't even know what is agriculture. If you ask them to define what agriculture is, the definition will be laughable, because most of the time you will see them defining agriculture through the lens of subsistence. That's why you will see some of the initiative and some of the stuff they give are always palliative that supports subsistence, like giving hoes, cutlass, fertilizers, wheelbarrows to come and say you are empowering farmers. Because most of these farmers also think in a subsistence way. So when they see some of those things, they see it as giveaways. They don't want to use those things. Some of them, as you are giving to them, I have been in some of those evaluation of some of those palliative that they gave them the stuffs today. The farmer sells them to people that wants to use them and stuff like, because they really don't see it as input into their stuff. So when it comes to agribusiness development and scaling in Africa, the place of policy must be very important. The policymakers must start thinking of agriculture as a business, right, and treat it as one, and make policies around that. Make standard policies around the kind of products what should be used. Now, I think Joshua will agree with me that there are the policies around the constituents, for example, the type of fertilizer you use, the constituents that will be in some of those products needs to be consistent over time. And some of these stuffs in the international community changes over time. The local farmer does not have the time or the resources or the knowledge to think about what amount of NPK should be used and what amount of some of those things should be used. It boils down to the policymakers to be able to absorb this and say, this is what the UN now wants. There are some of those stuffs that are in that gets into I don't want to start using technical terms. Gets into some product that when you take it to Europe, they won't accept it, but you take it to Asia, they accept it, and some of those stuff. Some of those standardization is supposed to be at the aim of the affairs of the policymakers, which to a very large extent, I will say most countries in Africa are lacking behind in that. We've seen situations where companies that wants to do things in that space start thinking of the standardization themselves. They start trying to meet the. It is always very difficult to try and meet some of those standards when you don't have a national policies around it quite well. Then I don't think I was just talking about the women. If you give me 100 million right now to invest in farmers, right, I am possibly going to use about 80 million of it to invest in the women. This is the reason. From my experience over time, right, women play more dominant roles in the aspect of the value chains that brings more profit in terms of adding values and trying to work around the product transformation or taking to uh, if you are in the field, you will discover that when it comes to trying to buy products, get products, over 80% of the people you relate with are the women, right? So, but you also will not take away the fact that these women culturally have a way of thinking that always hinge back to the men. So I have seen products targeted at women failing, not because the products were bad in themselves, because
Mm,
they were not taken holistically in terms of trying to carry the whole family along. So it should rather be family based in terms of some of this implementation than just trying to single out the women and say, I want to empower the women. Because at the end of the day, we've put some money in place where we're trying to support some farmers before and say, we give to the women to try and make their farm a bit more viable. At the end, you ask them, what did they do with the money? They tell you they use it to cook for their family. A family that is hungry, for example, you won't get, I can't kick that woman or take him to court because in the first place, I think I was even going to talk about that. These rural farmers does not even understand what is contracting. They don't understand how you can't come to their village and tell them about contract as the case may be. So when thinking about empowering the women and trying to invest in the space, you will need to think about it as a family. Maybe later I will share an experience I also have experienced right now that I think we should start thinking along that in the long run in Africa as the case may be. So thank you so much, Alexander.
Thank you, Uji. And well, let's give now the floor to Joshua. What are your thoughts in policy making and also shifting this mindset from only subsistence to scaling into a business and making it more profitable? But yeah, or your thoughts on all of this conversation. Just
All right, thank you, Alexander. I mean, it's interesting the ideas being shared and all the stuff about policy as well as empowering women. I mean, when we talk about policy, Ghana is very good at policy making and implementing somehow. Especially currently, the government has some policy that now bans the exportation of soya beans and few other things. which is currently also hurting a lot of farmers in the north who are also living on this life because most of the buyers are buying to export, and especially one of our biggest clients who has about 30,000 metric ton capacity per annum is not buying now because they can't export and all that stuff. And trying to get it from another country to is a little bit challenging. You have to set up a whole new way before you can really start exporting and all that stuff. So policy really affect the value chain a lot. And now I believe maybe the next season, government will rethink about its position with the ban on soya beans and maize and other crops, and maybe see how farmers will be a little bit relieved. So policy play a very important role. But one thing I don't do, I don't fight policies, and I try to work along it and innovate my way around it because no matter what, you still have to work in that kind of collaborative area. So what we have to do is to find a way to improvise and make sure you are providing the best value for farmers and as well as your clients as well and all that. So for policy wise, we need that collaboration. And there were plant breeder bill that the government has introduced initially. It faced a lot of I mean resistance from other farmer cooperatives and all that because they think you are taking the right of farmers from owning the seeds to corporations and a whole lot. So for policies, I usually look at it from different lenses and try to work cooperatively or amicably alongside policies as well. When it comes to women empowerment, I believe our brothers and sisters are all right in their perspective because the women, our tradition always inhibits women from taking dominant role or making being a decision maker. So what I believe will solve that problem is not just singling out the women to empower them separately, because whether you do that or not, they will still not own up or show up to make sure that the effect or the impact that we're expecting will happen because of tradition. They are still limited by that. But I believe technology is still the way out. Technology has a way of undermining all these kind of bottlenecks, and I always say most of Africa, so for one majority of African pressing challenges can be solved by technology and other stuff. And that's what CFT Africa we are doing. We use data, we use information, we use records and stuff to assess all these things. So whether you are male or female doesn't really matter. All we need is we use data to make decisions and all that stuff to empower these farmers. And I believe when we're able to streamline the operations by making it more like our brother said, they don't know anything about contract farming. They don't understand all these things. You explain and explain. They are poverty driven. And when I say poverty driven, when they need money, that's when they strive to get something to sell and make it and other stuff. So what we are doing is we are making sure that our solution is also tackling some of these immediate needs that they have. So we have some financial technology tools embedded in our platform that we are hoping that we can advance some minor, micro loans to them, collaborating with fintechs and also trying to advance some loans, soft loans. And because of the data we have on them and our collaboration with them, we are able to get these farmers to trust our system. The trust issue with smallholder farmers is not because they don't want to be, just or honorable, but they face a lot of challenges. And when they see any loophole, they will exploit it to their advantage, and they feel like they're being cheated for a lot. And once they see any small opportunity, window of opportunity, they will try and take advantage of it. So we've created a system which the farmers stand to benefit more by being honest and faithful to their clients and other stuff. And we are seeing that kind of, we have a lot of farmers being onboarded on our platform, but people leaving the platform, we literally experience that because more people are trying to reach out to us, reaching out to our agents. The only problem we are having is they have too many things to sell, and we don't have enough off takers currently now to take these things. And when it happens that way, they feel disappointed because you promise them market, you promise them fair pricing than whatever the middlemen are buying. And now you are here buying and we can't even provide market or get the whatever we need for us and other stuff. So that has been our little challenge. But I believe technology can help empower more and also standardize the process or streamline the process for big bulk buyers to deal directly with this model. So that is our goal. Honestly, we are hoping that bulk buyers can easily reach out to these farmers and not rely solely on intermediaries, many of whom are also exploiting these farmers and all that stuff, so that the farmers can get more value or fair pricing for their produce, where the buyer to get value for their money. So I will still hinge on technology and most importantly data and other sustainable practices.
Thank you so much, Joshua. Just being mindful of the time, I will ask this question for the three of you, and please try to maintain it in 2 minutes per person. So, if you could, I mean, there are now probably farmers or agribusiness professionals or policymakers watching this today. So, what is one actionable step that you believe they could take to help transform agricultural value chains in their communities? Whoever wants to go first.
All right, so I think I'll go first. I believe the solutions that they'll come up with should be farmer centered, farmer centric. It shouldn't be where you make the farmer just a producer and after producing, they're done. Because one of the challenges you're seeing that farmers are quite discouraged about the return that they get whenever they see that, oh, I was into maize, but this year the price of maize wasn't that good for me. And uh, pepper was better. The chili pepper was better than maize. So next year you see a lot of them transition to chili pepper, and then there will be oversupply, and then maize will be scarce. That kind of so the value chain ends when the farmer finish producing. But if we integrate them into the value chain where they know the demand, where they know what others are interested in, they don't even know the end buyer, they don't even know where their goods will be ending, whether it's going to the marketplace, whether it's going to this company, whether it's going here, how are they we need that kind of education. So our solution should be farmer centric. Farmers should be empowered financially, and this can be done through fair pricing and also access to funding. They also need to get the information, and any decision that you are making must also involve them. Because, mind you, if the farmers are not producing, there won't be any produce for the value chain to continue. It will break instantly. So we need to engage them, and that is why we are seeing a lot of people not going into farming because they don't see any value there. They don't see any profitability. So let's create solutions, and we are working on that ecosystem where a farmer will not just sell their produce, but will get access to a lot of solutions, like you know a lot of it. I don't want to discuss them here. So we have a whole lot of solutions to make sure that all the impact that we want to create to be farmer centered and will also help boost production and other stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I'll take up from where Joshua stopped. Uh, I tell people that agriculture is not a sprint, right? Profitability in agriculture is not a sprint, it's actually a marathon, right? And it's a marathon that is filled with a whole lot of uncertainties and risk, right? It's a high risk industry that is high risk that is very profitable and can be low risk if the right policies are taken. So I think the policymakers need to start thinking about how to make it a little bit easier for innovators in the sectors to thrive, right? There should be policies around, especially when it comes to financing and making the right policies, putting the right apparatus in place to ensure that innovators and disruptors in the sector are able to do it without thinking of what the repercussion will be in terms of them going into poverty and stuff like that. I have seen a whole lot of my friends that comes about some of these innovative ideas into stuff, use their personal fund to fund it, and at the end, if it does not work well, they go back to go down the poverty line. So that fear of the unknown is one thing that drives stifled innovation in the space. So if there are policies around trying to cushion those effects, if I know that if I'm jumping in this space, and there is a safety net for me to be able that will catch me when I do some of those stuff, I will jump. Not mind them, because in the first place, business is business. When you do business, it is either it fails or it succeeds. But what happens if it fails or succeeds after then is hinged on the kind of policy and the kind of space you are playing. So a whole lot of persons are afraid to play in this sector right now because they don't have a cushioning effect. There is even no, I will say, for the company, for the countries I have worked in Africa, the agri insurance sector is completely dead. No, not even say it's dead. It was not even there in the first place, because these people will not, no bank will even listen to you. You do some of those innovative ideas. Immediately they see agri, in it, they know it's a high risk, it's an uncertainty environment. They don't want to deal with you. So I think there should be policies around putting those safety nets in place by this deliberate stuff, putting those safety nets, support some of these innovations that talks about financing and all of this stuff. Without me, if I'm thinking about innovation in this way, I should not be thinking about taking 100% of the risk. If the government takes 50, for example, it's a win-win for us, and at the end of the day, it benefits a whole lot in the stuff. Then I think there should be policies around. There should be more policies around trying to come up with what we call our standards, right? The truth is, I cannot, a farmer in Africa, in Nigeria, for example, cannot compete in terms of standard with some of those farmers we have in Europe, for example. So let's create our own standard. When a country says this is the level at which we can get to in producing this our product, those other countries and those other buyers will agree with them because this is what we can do here. But it will be very, very unfair to farmers and those in the agri space for you to pick a policy that was created by a foreign countries that has put modalities in place to ensure that they can hit it easily and now need to put it on the farmers. I would say to a very large extent, we've been trying in the space. Those farmers have been trying in the space, those in the space have been trying because they're trying to meet a standard that was not even set for you and no innovation in place to be able to get that. So I think some of these things are what you should now start thinking in terms of in trying to revisualize the setup. My 2 minutes should be over by now.
Okay. So from my side, I believe in collaboration. I think it's high time we come together and then we try to do something for ourselves rather than being over reliance on governments and other development agencies to come in and then help us. If we can put ourselves together as groups and then we fight to achieve a common goal, we are able to solve our problems ourselves. We are able to come together to solve each other's challenges, and then we are able to strengthen the value chain. So we must first do something for ourselves, come together, find out ways and means in order to help ourselves or in order to enhance whatever we do. Then we come together as a group, then we put our request or concerns before governments or any other stakeholders that might come that might want to help us. In that way, our voices go stronger. Even with advocacy cases, we don't do advocacy cases for only an individual farmer or an individual processor. But when they are able to collaborate and come out stronger, then their voices are heard and then they are able to go far with whatever they are doing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Just to follow up on a comment to Uyi about, well, Yemert is trying to provide that safety net to farmers through its affordable microinsurance. So I just wanted to not forget to say that. And well, thank you so much to our speakers. This was such an insightful conversation. We had a question from the audience. It was to Joyce, but if any of you could answer very, very quick because I know we're over time. But the question is if you know what the new technological requirements are for syntropic farming, if anyone knows.
I want to get a question.
Sorry?
All right. So I think syntropic farming is another form of farming, which is a organic farming type of organic farming that helps to regenerate the soil nutrients instead of relying on synthetic fertilizers and stuff. So it's a whole lot, but I think the whole syntropic farming initiative or ideology is still at the testing mode or testing phase. There have been cases where in Brazil they've used it to turn some deserts, places to fertile land that now supports agriculture very well, and a lot of activists or people who are promoting this are hoping that we can use it to repair soil or to improve soil biodiversity and all that stuff. So I think new technology for syntropic farming will still hinge on data and maybe access to market, because all these are good sustainable practices. But the problem here is in Africa, our market system, especially the local market, doesn't differentiate between synthetic and organic and whatsoever, except maybe some niche market that do that. So if a farmer or a syntropic farmer goes into syntropic here in Ghana and produce whatever plantain, cassava, cocoa, and gets to the market, nothing, there will be no value or no appreciation for that. So access to market will be a very good way for people to start going to such sustainable farming practices, so that farmers will also be encouraged, because if they know they can get more, because it's very it takes a lot of energy and resources to do that, because you have to interbreed with different crops or plant it with different crops and all that stuff. It's a very nice model and concept, but I believe we need a system that will solve some of the challenges or the plight most farmers in Africa are facing, especially access to market and financial constraint. And once you're able to do that, we can think about the way to integrate this kind of sustainability, because it all boils to market or sales. And if they are to produce and they won't get value for that, people will resort to whatever others are thinking is not helpful, good for the soil or whatever, and we still go back to the same cycle, and climate change or climate, threat will still be a case, and we will still have food security issues and a whole lot. So I still believe technology, access to market linkages, access to funds and data will go a long way to address most of the pressing challenges we are seeing within the agricultural value chain. And CFT Africa, honestly, we are up to that, and we believe within the next 5 to 10 years, uh, we will start seeing it. We'll be scaling it, and once we start scaling it, we all see the impact that the smallholder farmers. And I believe, as Bro said, we can compete to the standard in Europe. But I believe that when we have better structure with what vision we have, we can also level the playing field for smallholder farmers to also compete and also supply direct to Walmart and these multinational corporations as well.
Okay, I think I will just thank you, Joshua. I think that's a brilliant way to put it. But I would think I want to assume that we are talking more about the African farmer space. We have not even been able to utilize the nice natural fertile soil that we have. I think we should. We are not. We should, most of this innovation, let's not overstress it. We don't. I will say to in quotes, use my quote me now in quote. Those innovations right now are not even necessary for us. We have a natural fertile soil that can do more than whatever those some of those can do. So let's even explore more of the naturality. First of all, the natural soil we have can. Most of this stuff that you're talking about is because some of these areas there are no natural fertile soil, so you need to help the soil. We don't even have a soil in most areas of Africa right now. We don't have a soil that we need to even help before some of these our products grow. So I think that's why we are not even to an extent thinking about it right now. But maybe when we get there and stuff like, because I see there's some a friend that was trying to do something on hydroponics in Abuja and stuff like that, created one big lab and stuff like that. Those were some of the stuff when we were trying to banter, like, don't worry, this even the soil you are putting this hydroponic this thing on, if you put this crop in that soil, it will grow. And that's just and that's the reason one reason we must keep pushing that. I think we have the land we have uncultivated in Africa is so much fertile land for that matter. So much. So before I think about the big technology as the case may be, let's utilize what we have and we'll be able to. So I just felt I should add that to it. Maybe that's why we are not bothered yet, because we really have what works right now. So let's maximize what works.
Well, thank you so much to our speakers. It's clear that this requires a lot more conversations. Yes, so please also be sure to all of us who joined, follow Yammert's social media. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and also on LinkedIn. It's Yammert. And um yes, if you want to just say one sentence each of the speakers, just to like as a conclusion, but one sentence because we're over the hour now. But yes, please go ahead.
All right, to be quick, I believe farming is a business, and we should strive to empower smallholder farmers to thrive as successful entrepreneurs.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
from my side, agriculture and agribusiness is indeed the backbone of our economy. So we must pay critical attention to it, and then we must also work on achieving resilient value chains. Thank you.
Yeah, the future is bright for agriculture, no matter what challenges we are going through right now, right? The future is very bright, and whoever is trying to go into agriculture, go into it long term, right? It's a marathon, right? Get into the race and start and have the mind to run it long term, and I will all benefit from it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope this discussion has inspired you to continue supporting agricultural initiatives in your communities. So, have a great evening, everyone. And thank you so much again to you guys, Uji, Joycelyn, and Joshua. Thank you so much.
Everyone, yeah. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.